Hello, and welcome to Talk, Therapy, Heal, a dynamic and engaging show that endeavors to shatter the many stigmas surrounding mental health and therapy. Talk, Therapy, Heal is a collective of licensed counselors, therapists, and life coaches unique in areas of specialization, expertise, and experience. Through the art of curated, genuine, compassionate conversation, we get to the deep things. We are so excited you chose to begin your healing journey with us. Tune in to Talk, Therapy, Heal. Hello, and welcome to Talk, Therapy, Heal, where we talk about life's challenges and struggles from a mental health perspective. Join us for today's episode.
Hi, I'm Kenya.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Rachel.
Hey, I'm Larisha.
Hey, I'm Nikki.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chantrell, better known as Shan. Now, we're bringing it to the table. Hashtag bring it to the table.
Yeah.
We are going deeper in our healing series. Am I healed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because a lot of people walk around saying that they healed now, they're healing journey, but are you really? So we're going to bring and break this thing down even further. What we're going to be focusing on tonight's episode is what is needed to repair the damage. If you have missed, and this is your first one, go back, go back, and then come back and join us. So this is episode 5 of season 2. What is needed to repair the damage?
Repair. What?
Repair.
Oh, that's a good word to define, right?
Mhm.
What does it mean to repair?
Repair.
It's when you think about repairing a vehicle or repairing a relationship, it's redoing something to make it better. I'm reminded when people come in, can you fix me? That's the word. Fix or mean fix me.
So repair.
And so how do we, tying that in, I know we still haven't really identified because, we just jump right on in. But fix me, but we tell people in therapy, I can't fix you. And so this being, am I healed, right? They get to fix themselves. We're going to set them up with a toolkit. Yeah. Right. So they can fix themselves. So this is what the session is all about. We're going to break down tools that you personally need to heal. Yes. So I guess then the first thing for me then, and what I tend to ask people is to consider what being healed looks like and feels like for you, because it can be different for everybody. My healing can be different than your healing and your healing, anybody healing at this table. So what does your healing look like? And what does it feel like? So is it a feeling of peace, being peaceful, being confident, or being more connected to others? What does healing look like?
I sit up and I think, what does healing look like? That's a good question.
It is.
It kind of threw me off because I had this thought and then I was like, wait a minute, let me come back. What does healing look like?
Because for those people who said I'm on my healing journey, then what does it look like? What's the destination? If you were to reach it, if you were to arrive, how do you know? And I ask that all the time with my clients. If you get there, how you know you're there? What's happening there? Those are the goals. Yes.
Those are the goals.
Those are the goals.
And I think healing, like you said, it's going to be different for everyone. But depending on that situation, you look at that situation and that outlook totally different. If I come to counseling and say, hey, I'm just all over the place, I don't know how to think, I don't have any peace. Once I get to that point where I'm not all over the place and I have peace, then I know I'm healed. When you can look back at a situation and it does not affect you in a negative way like it used to, then there's a good chance that you're healed.
Yeah.
When I was going to counseling, my counselor was really trying to help me with PTSD. And she said, why is it that whenever you're on the road, you find yourself that you have to look for certain things? And I'm sitting there looking at like, lady, I was in the Army. I drove a fuel truck and I've been deployed numerous times. And only thing they wanted was in fuel trucks. They set up IEDs, any type thing. I said, you wonder why I drive and I'm always looking for something? She said, but you're not in Iraq anymore. And I said, I understand that. I said, but whenever I go under a bridge, way before I get there, I'm looking at the bridge, and Shannon would be like, baby, your eyes on the road? Yeah, I see that car over there. I was trained to do that.
Right.
But the more I came to that point where I realized that, no, I'm not in Iraq anymore, then I wouldn't look at the bridges as much. But it still comes and goes. So I will say I've did the work and I've healed a little bit, but it ain't always there, because I can go down the road and it can blow across the road because that it's just like a trigger. But when you no longer are affected by that in any type of way, then you look at it differently.
Yeah.
And that's why I see this a lot. Me and Shannon have had a lot of discussions about this. It pains me when people always run around, oh, I've gotten over that, I did where I've healed, but you're still talking about the same thing. You ain't really healed.
Every conversation
It's
that
about the
I
same.
have with you is the same thing, but this is healing. What was you gonna say, Larisha?
No, I'm just
Just you all basking in that, because I seen you clutching pearls. You clutching pearls.
Yeah.
But see, that's what I like about goals. That's what I like about working with clients, and we set the goals. And that was, again, we had great off-camera conversation. You all may get to see it, But the goals, when I know that I am healed, we can go back to the beginning, which is generally what a counselor will do. As you get ready to start the counselor not seeing you as often in session, we're rolling back the sessions so you can walk on your own with the tools, as we're going to talk about tools tonight, the tools that are needed. But the goals, I think, is what show that you're healed.
Absolutely. Well, taking it, you have to create it. So it ain't just about having a goal.
Yeah, not created, but once you've accomplished. Let me say that.
So you create that plan, which is your goals. You create it and you do it step by step, because we can't just have this generic, I'm healed when, I don't know, what I want to say. I don't know. Y'all help me out.
Didn't know what?
Yeah, you ain't done no work, but then you say, I'm healed, I'm here. But there was no step-by-step action plan in place that kind of marked off those check marks. And what does that look like, right? It can include a daily, a weekly, a monthly actions that you take to work towards that healing. So my first tool that I needed in my toolkit is an action plan. Goals. I need to have a plan.
And you can establish that with a counselor. When you were talking, I was thinking about Dora the Explorer.
Not the backpack.
Come on, backpack.
Look, yes. Everything they need was in the backpack. So I would love for us to go around the room and this person, think about this from a personal perspective, because like we all said, we've all been to counseling and been on our, we're healed. What is in your backpack that you took on your journey?
This is good.
Oh.
I would say for me, it was about connection. Because I had so many broken connections, I sought a connection with a therapist, right, in a healthy way. And again, it goes back to me, like modeling the healing. So I sought connection with a therapist that could provide a sense of hope, a sense of resiliency. But not only that they could truly see me and hear me and understand the space that I came in.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I like that. For me, one of my toolkits is prayer and meditation, my connection, relationship with God. That is my biggest tool that's in my backpack. Like when I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling, it's the word of God that grounds me and brings me back, amongst other things. But that's the one that just came to me, especially when you were talking about connection. It's like that relationship with God, the word of God is part of my toolkit.
Yeah. I think for me, actually, before I started my last time going to, and listen, let me share this. There is nothing wrong with you going to counseling and then a couple more years going to counseling again. Because if you've met this goal or whatever the case may be, and you may say, and I'm sorry, I keep it real honest and plain. I'm still tripping. I need to go back to counseling. So when I hit 40, I shared this in a different forum. Shortly after I hit 40, I told my husband, and I don't know. I can't say I don't know. I believe, because I'm a believer as well, that it was God. I was tired of carrying things in my backpack from my past, from all the things that I went through. So I was prepared, if you will, visual. I had to empty that backpack out because that was carrying my past. It was carrying the traumatic experiences that I went through, all the things. And so
wait.
Yes.
That backpack wasn't a healthy.
It was not a healthy toolkit.
Okay.
It was get over it. It was suck it up and drive on. It was, oh, that happened so many years ago. Why you still talking about it? That's what was in that backpack. And so I remember going to my husband. I might have been about 41. And I said, you know what? I don't know what it is. I got to go get some help. I got to go see counseling. And of course, as a husband, he said, what did I do? Is it something that I did wrong? So I'm speaking from my relational niche as I'm answering the question. Is it something that I did wrong? And I was like, no, but I got to go. And I remember saying this. It was so interesting. I said, listen, if I start tripping, and you can ask him, if I start tripping, because I didn't know what to expect. Most of my counseling before this was related to military experiences. It wasn't personal. So that's why I say, different areas. But I told him, I said, if I start tripping, because, I done went to see my counselor, what is not you. So please don't take it as it being you. So my tool, as I dumped out the toxic backpack, had this, okay, now I need to fill it up. Something has to change, is an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. That was my tool. Mm-hmm. So if I started tripping, and he would know, as we were talking about, not to match energy, because I'm not one that throw my eek on people anyway. I think that's unfair. People. That's just me. But then he could sit and talk to me about it and say, baby, now this is the other thing I will speak and say to this too. Even in having an accountability partner, he told y'all he went to counseling, I went to counseling. I did not, as his wife, this is a teachable moment. This is a Rachel pause moment. Stop looking at the TV and being distracted and listen. I did not, baby, what was your session about when you came out of session day? What'd y'all talk about? Did you talk about me? Did you No, because then as he is building his toolkit while he's in session with this counselor about to go, I'm damaging it. So keep that in mind, wives and husbands. Whatever we do in our sessions, that's between the counselor and the person. Okay? They ain't got nothing to do with you. Pray, because prayers is free. All right.
Yeah. So your tool was accountability. I like
a partner, accountability partner.
For me, I had quite a few. One was just being intentional about everything that you say that you're going to do, and trying to stick to it and do that. And my counselor gave me that, and I use that for myself, and I use it for clients now. Another thing that we really worked on was control. I was one of those individuals that I worked in a lot of different areas, even though if I didn't have to. And I had to realize that I can't control everything. What I have to focus on are the things that I can control. Everything else, everybody else is going to have to deal with, because that's on them. Because you bring a lot of undue stress on yourself when you're trying to control things that are outside of your abilities. Another thing was just having protective measures whenever I felt like I was being attacked, threatened, or whatever the case may be. I just need to remove myself from that situation. Don't say anything. Don't act a certain way. Just remove yourself from that situation and then go from there. And then the last thing was really just about positive affirmations. Always reminding myself who I am, who God has called me to be, what I'm doing. You may not like it, but that's all right. I really ain't working for you. People ain't getting that. But those are the things that I have in my tool boxes. I had to realize that just because you're trying to help someone in a job that you want to do, everybody doesn't see it that same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What's in yours, Rachel?
I journaled a lot. And I didn't have a strict schedule, right? It was only when I needed it. When I felt like those emotions coming up for me, I would have to get it out. and I didn't like tell everybody my business either.
Ooh.
Right? Because they're not on the journey with me per se.
Yeah.
So I was really protective of my time and where I went because I was very vulnerable.
Oh.
So I was isolated by choice. Because I knew where I was going. I knew where God was taking me, and I'd never been down that road. And so I journaled a whole lot. I isolated by choice with the Lord a lot. So with that prayer, but I did not resist it either. So because I knew God was doing an inner healing in my life, I did not resist that uncomfortable feeling.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
love the tools that we've said here. And so I just want to open it up for a little bit more. Those are our personal tools that we use. But there are other help tools or things that you can use. So support systems, identify family, friends, or groups that can offer emotional support and understanding. That's a tool that you can have in your backpack. Look for books, online resources, or apps that provide practical advice and exercises to support your healing. Kind of like Talk.Therapy.Heal, y'all.
Yeah.
That offer those things. I know a lot of people are into social media, right? And so finding those avenues or curating your experiences on those apps that tailors to what you are in and what you're wanting for your life. So what healing looks like. So positive things, like you were saying, positive affirmations. So things that are going to be encouraging and uplifting. Those are the things that you want in your toolkit. Shan talked to us about her toxic backpack that she had. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us walk around with those bags or bags, on our back that we're carrying that is full of toxic things we don't need. And so what she said was she emptied that out. That's another tool, is to understand when it's time to empty out what you don't need, so that you can fill it with the things that are necessary and that you do need for your healing.
Nikki, what I'm hearing you say, there's a cutting away.
Ooh, yes, sir.
Because sometimes, everybody can't go where you're going. And sometimes what you have to do is, it's not about being mean. It's not about hurting individuals. Sometimes you even have to cut family off in order for you to heal and repair damage that they or somebody else may have done.
Oh, but that tool, having that cutting away for a family, because, oh my God forbid you cut off family, you wrong for cutting off family.
So you have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
you have to let people know, like, how people say, hey, I'm taking a break from social media. You let everybody know, because you're not acting funny. But I'm taking a break. So don't expect from me to respond back to you right now because I'm on a break. So you do have to have conversations, especially if you're married or, in a long-term relationship, whatever. Like, hey, babe, like I am intentionally allowing myself to feel feelings. This has nothing to do with you. Like what you said with your, with Kenya, but you do have to have a conversation that I'm about to be on this journey. So even communicating with your boss, like I know I've worked with clients who use their FMLA or short-term disability, whatever, to take time off because they knew this will be triggering for me, too much for me, because then I can't focus at work.
Yes.
So it is real. Like this journey, like people are being really intentional about healing.
Yes. So what you're saying is don't ghost people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Communicate.
Have a conversation.
Communicate, yeah.
It's simple. No one can tell you not to take your journey. No one can tell you to stop. Oh, no, you can't do that. They can't tell you what to do.
Right.
You get to make your own decisions. But I think that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
And being comfortable in making your own decisions, though, right? But I love that. Take that time away, break away, step away. It's okay. You just communicate it.
Yeah.
Communicate.
If you are part of a group or club, let them know, like, hey, you guys, I'm just taking some time away. I'll be back, give me 2 months or whatever. You are allowed to do this.
If you self-permit, I'm going to say this. It said me, so it's got to come out. It made me think about Jesus and his homeboys, the disciples. Because I call them his homeboys. That was his homie. That was his crew.
Yeah.
Jesus would let them know when they like, hey, Jesus, you know what I'm saying? We got your back. We'll go with you to this place and that place. And he's like, no, I'm going to go across this lake and I'm going to go spend time with my Father. And so my thing that I'm thinking in giving yourself permission and letting this be in your tool bag, number one, just like y'all said, Jesus communicated, I'm going over here, and no, y'all can't go. I get back when I get back. You know what I'm saying? So communication, yes. But then would you say isolation? How did you put it? It was beautiful.
By choice.
Isolated by choice. He went to spend time with God by choice. No, none of the homies pressured him. The disciples, I didn't read it in the Bible, they pressured. But if he gave himself permission to do that, why not us? And then the flip side, the people who are so accustomed to being so attached to Nikki and so attached to, because they'll get an attitude. Well, what do you mean? Because think about the homies, the disciples. What you mean you going to talk to God and without me? Recognize that in your toolkit. Listen, I'm not trying to be mean. It's not about you right now. It's about me and my healing journey. Have those conversations. If they can't understand, y'all know what my motto is. Pray for them, because prayers are free.
I love that. Still the communication, and going back to what you said with the spouses, because when people feel like they're attached, you're my best friend. My spouse is my best friend, and I tell you everything. You should tell me everything. And so when you want that time alone, it's almost like a rejection and abandonment. And so that's when we need to assess what that wound is really about. Why does that hurt you? So that comes out in the assessment part. And so this is why it's really good for you to really be true and honest about what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, so that when that spouse does come to you and say, hey babe, I need to take a minute, I need a week away, I want to take a weekend by myself, you not jumping all in your feelings about them taking a weekend for themselves, because you've already assessed the hurt that you feel with abandonment or rejection. But if you haven't, that's where it shows up at. When people start setting boundaries and start telling you things that they're going to do and how they're going to do it, you have a problem with that.
Right. Mrs. Larisha Pillow. Because I see her slowly move her thing. She got something in her shondo. Yes, ma'am.
Well, drop the mic.
Yes.
I think another thing is, and you can get this particular tool through therapy, is like really connecting with your body.
Yes.
Like connecting with the sensations of, the pain, the hurt, connecting with your breath. You know what I mean? Because that brings out, a whole lot. Hopefully later we're going to do an exercise. A mindfulness exercise.
I like that. That's really good, because that's one of the things that helps build resilience, right? When we are mindful of what we're speaking. So you're going to do that exercise. We're going to give y'all an exercise. Larisha's going to walk y'all through a mindfulness technique, which is going to really help you tap in. And that's another tool to have in your toolkit.
So two things. I would say what you eat is important.
Yes.
So your toolkit is to monitor your diet, because we don't want to consume junk, because that's only going to aid or add to the stress of healing. Because so if you add on pounds and you're trying to heal, you are like, what in the world? What am I doing? So choosing for real healthy food, just limiting your intake of, certain foods that's not healthy for you. So eating properly. I will also be intentional with walking. So really carving out time to go outside. I love nature, and nature heals. Just visually seeing trees. They are stable. They don't change. They may bend, but they don't break unless lightning comes. But that's a whole other story, right? But my point is being intentional and being outdoors is key, because you get vitamin D. So your toolbox should consist of exercise and eating healthy foods.
Also, I want just to piggyback off of that, what I'm hearing you say is practice self-care. Yeah. Because that's all a part of self-care. Yes. The physical, emotional, and mental.
Yes. And spiritual.
And spiritual, yes. Have that in your backpack. Self-care. And so I hope y'all heard what she said, because in self-care, it didn't mean that she went to get her nails done. She didn't go get a haircut. She didn't go get her makeup done. She didn't get her toes done. She said nature. She said what she was eating, what she was putting in her body was practicing self-care.
So good. In other words, people are trying to heal. You can't use fake things to cover up the healing process. You got to get in there and do the real work and present yourself who you are in the direction that you need to go
Yes,
in.
and we're going to talk about that, covering up these wounds.
And, another thing that really hits me when it comes to the tools that you need, and I think a lot of people miss this one, being able to forgive yourself and being able to forgive others.
That's good.
If that is one of the issues that you're having. Because for so long, people carry stuff of what somebody else did to them, but they never just stop to say, you know what, one of the first things I need to do is forgive. You're not forgetting, so that you can release that and then be able to move forward and heal.
Break that down a little bit more, because, and I say that because when we talk about forgiveness and people say, well, you hurt me, you caused this wound, I don't want to forgive you. So I have in my mind what I want to say, but I want you to kind of break that down of what that would mean for someone to forgive another person, or and then I'll come back after.
Okay. So basically what I'm saying is, when you don't forgive an individual, you continue to carry that on. It continues to pile up in your body. It continues to pile up in your heart. It will do things to your mind. You have those negative thoughts, and then pretty soon that's going to automatically transfer to you. Because you're saying, okay, this person did this to me. They should have never did it. I can't forgive them for that. I hate that person. I don't never want to see them. Then the next thing you start doing is, well, they did that to me. Now there's a direct connection. You start thinking, well, was it my fault that happened? And so it's just more stuff that's added on you. So when you are able to release that individual, then all that negative energy starts to be released as well. And so I give you guys as an example, because this was me. I had an individual, Shan knows exactly who I'm talking about, that really set me up where I could have went to jail. And for so long, I was just like, you know what? If I ever see him, I'm just going to pop him in the face. It's going to be a bad day. And I got to a point where I was like, he's got too much power and control over me. That's another reason to forgive. They're still controlling you from a distance. So when I was able to release that and say, you know what, I didn't do nothing to that person. Only thing I ever had was good intention. Whatever reason why they did or said or whatever, I'm going to keep living my life and just move on. Now, do I like that person? I still don't like them, but I forgave. I don't have all that negative stuff in me where I would say, if I see him, I'm going to pop him in the face. Now I was just like, I don't know if I ever run into him. If I do, I'll probably speak and just keep going.
Right.
You have to release in order for that healing to be able to take place.
So what I'm hearing you say is forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you.
For you.
Which is really important that people understand. When you forgive, it is not about the other person, and it's not about you forgiving them. I think it's more so about you forgiving the act, so you can move forward with your life. So forgiveness is solely for you.
And you're not carrying that residue with you.
Yes.
So it's just like what Larissa talked about earlier about knowing when you heal in the skin. When you let that person go, that's a part of the healing process. When you forgive. But you can't come into counseling saying, oh, I want to work on this and I want to get better. Okay, but what do you have problem? Oh, my uncle blowing so did this, that, and the other. And you go through that whole process through counseling, and the counselor sitting there looking at you. You ain't healed from that yet. When are you going to let that go?
So in your toolbox, you have to have forgiveness.
You gotta have forgiveness.
In that practice of letting go.
The longer you hold on to something, the more it's gonna hurt you. No different than you guys ever did a rope climb in school or in the military, and they tell you you can climb up the rope. When you get ready to come down, you come hand over, you let yourself. But if you slide,
you burn your hands.
And the only thing you really gotta do is what?
Let go.
Let it go. But people will hold on to that, and the residue, the burns, the hurt is gonna be there when you could have easily just let it go.
I think another tool, and this kind of tied back to what Rachel was saying earlier. I'm going to speak, and I asked their permission to speak medically and mentally to try to make it make sense. Giving yourself permission, as we were saying, Nikki said it earlier, to have time to yourself. But we often associate finances and money with, oh, well, I gotta go spend, I'm gonna go on this, all this kind of stuff. But something as simple as what Rachel said. I was speaking to a client, and this is why I'm bringing this up. And the client was speaking about being diagnosed with cancer. And, speaking against it, I come against it now that we know we can come against it in the name of Jesus. We can do all the things, but if we don't do the work, right? And so she was mentioning how she was given some medication. We are not against medicine. talk to your provider, okay? But she was given some medication, and she was saying that next thing she knows, she was told that basically they may have to go in and remove some of her intestines because excuse me if y'all eating, but if you're constipated and you don't release, he just talked about release. If you don't release what's toxic from your body, it's going to harm your body. So now they're talking about removing feet of her intestines because the medicine set in her lower intestines and started making her intestines bleed and started to rot away. So in our conversation, because she happened to be, you know, from the great state, for those of you who know, you know, but she happened to be from the great state. And I said, may I ask you something? I asked if she was country because I'm country. And I said, I remember, I want y'all to think about this. This is something to put in y'all's tool bag that's free. It is free. Just what Rachel was saying. I said, do you remember when the old people used to go and sit out in the sun for about 30, 40 minutes? They'd be hot outside, but they'd just sit out in the sun. I said, but one thing that they would do was be barefoot. And they would have their feet on the ground. What is that called, counselors? Grounding. Now, somewhere down the line, we allowed, and I don't know where it was, to tell us that that's not a good tool to have. Oh, now you're moving away from religion. You're doing this, you're doing that. However, that vitamin D from the sun, that's natural. If you go to your doctor, they're going to tell you your iron is low and your vitamin D is low. If you're 65 and older, vitamin D used to be prescribed. Now everybody's low vitamin D because nobody sit in the sun. It's free. That is a free tool. Have your time where you can sit, because what we do, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, we spoke about it though in the last episode, we're quick to run to get a Band-Aid. We're not so quick to go in our tool bag, things that we seen growing up. And I told my client, I said, I'm going to be honest with you, transparent moment. I used to think the old folks was crazy. But think about it like this. What is the number one thing? And we'll get back on. What is the number one thing that they used to give you by spoon, but nobody ever got sick? Castor oil.
I tell you,
Castor oil. So I say that to say, people didn't used to get sick because they used the tools that they had to stay healthy. We have that same thing. So when you look at it from a medical perspective, look at it from a mental health perspective. We are trying to share too. We're not just here just talking. No, these things will help you stay mentally stable and sound before you really get, and your counselor work with you and really get into the root of what your problem is. So this is why we're talking about tools. Pre-op. Think about pre-op surgery. That's what we were talking about. Pre-op surgery, the surgeon is going to tell you, and you have to sign documentation. I will not do this. You got to understand you can't do that. You have to fast before a certain amount of time. You can't take medications unless it's life-threatening, blah, 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 blah. This right here is pre-op surgery. So as we're talking mental health, because you're not accustomed to it, don't say, oh, I don't understand what they're talking about and shy away. Think about it and correlate it to medical. You understand that, so take the time to understand this. So that's how I'm saying.
So good. You know, you were talking about vitamins. Like, we're talking about this backpack is for you mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? And so spiritually, have a scripture. Get your Bible. Get a book that can help you as a resource or a tool. So getting scriptures that speak to where you are, your truth. Like, I'm the head and not the tail. I'm more than an overcomer. You know, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can get through this journey of healing through Christ who's going to strengthen me. Allow yourself to meditate on the word of God to help you through this journey, and have healing songs. Music heals.
Yes.
So finding that song that is going to help you know, ground you, but also to motivate you to know, like, I'm going to be healed. A blessing is on the way. Breakthrough is coming. Whatever. Find that song that's going to take you there in prayer, but also reinforce that you are on the right journey.
Absolutely. That's a part of that, building resilience and building that self-care toolkit as well. I want to kind of jump back to what I said earlier about the plan, creating the plan, like having the goals. How many times have we seen in the therapy office or the therapy room where if a person things have shifted for them. Maybe they presented with one thing and then something else major has happened, like maybe death or grief. We've shifted and created a new plan. So be open to change your plan, or be willing to change your plan if something isn't working. Mm-hmm. That's important, because I think sometimes when we set things, we feel like it's written in stone and we can't change it. Your plan is not like the Bible. Right. Your plan is not like God's word. God's word is forever, today, forever, and forevermore. Right? It's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Right? But your plan. Your plan can change. Right. Our plans can change, right? Because things happen in our life that we didn't account for, because we can't predict the future. Mm-hmm. So just being willing that, okay, this is what I was doing, kind of like what we said when you even start therapy. Mm-hmm. All of the things you were doing wasn't working for you. Mm-hmm. So now you have to try something different. This is being willing to change the plan, change the course. It's okay. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think also as therapists, a part of that plan may have to include what happens if I get to a point and this isn't working out with that client. And I go back to what we was in school, refer. Yeah. If it gets outside of your scope, don't play with that. Refer that person to someone that can get the help that they need, and maybe they can come back after that and finish up with some other things with you. But if it gets outside of your scope, do the best thing and refer out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about, as we were talking about plan, this is something we were speaking about before we came on. Oftentimes, we as individuals will use coping mechanisms as a Band-Aid to try to continue to push through, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it could be alcohol for you. It could be being a workaholic. It could be not taking time for yourself. It could be hypersexual activity. It's so many things that you do to keep just going, because I don't want to deal with the root. I don't want to revisit the trauma. I don't want to talk about this. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm okay. This is what we tell ourselves. One of the things when it comes to the plan that the counselor and the counselor and the client is going to work together, that plan and your tool bag, you may want to lessen the tools that you've been using. Because remember, I told you about the toxic tools that you've been using to self-soothe. It's not going to help you on your healing journey. That's because guess what? If you still try to incorporate the toxic tools that you were using, soon as you feel like you have a snag in counseling, or you're trying to set that boundary, or a person rejects you, guess what you're going to revert back to? Right back. That alcohol, that sex, that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, shopping.
Amazon.
Your Amazon card is at $1 million right now. You slowly chipping away, and things like that. So try to stay away from those self-soothing behaviors that is toxic. Express that to your therapist. Because if they say, well, what are some of the things that you have done? Because remember, we're preparing to go deep and get to the root. So identifying those things before. What did you do before? Oh, I used to drink a gallon of alcohol a week. First of all, I don't understand how your kidneys and livers are still functioning, but that's the medical part of me. Well, what else did you used to do? Oh, well, I just sleep with random people. I'm talking to somebody on the night. It's hitting you right here. I can feel it. So we're not judging. What we're saying is don't allow that continue to be your foundation. But Kenya also says something too, and we've kind of brought it up, I think, in season 1. So go back and find it. Being mindful of what you can handle as a counselor. Now listen, because we might have said this before, we may not. I'm telling you right now as we speak, because we're bringing it to the table, right? Every good counselor has a counselor. Every good counselor has a counselor. So you have heard us speak about our niches, which means what we specialize in. If y'all don't mind, if we can go around the table real quick for the people who have joined us in season 2, starting with you, what is that you specialize in, your wheelhouse when it comes to counseling?
Suicide, relationships, trauma.
Depression, anxiety, stress, and Christianity. I'm trauma and relationship. trauma, and identity issues.
And my biggest piece is relational. Anything having to do with relational. We bring that up and say that. And the reason why I ask everybody that is because I'm going to be honest with you. If it has something to do with identity, I know I could probably work with that as a counselor. That's her wheelhouse. If it has something to do with suicide, if it has something to do with somebody really want to get, hey, I want a Christian counsel. I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. Yes. You see what I'm saying? So with that, even those who, and I'm going to say this and I promise I'm going to shut up. We're talking about preparing the people for their two house. So if you are, because we do not, I'm trying to use professional word because that ain't what I need to use. We do not speak against. Oh, thank you, Lord. We do not speak against, but if you are not a counselor, what's the other people?
Life coach.
Okay, coach. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. But if you are a coach, same thing for you. If you are a pastor, because back in the day when we were growing up, people would go to their church and go to the pastor if they needed counseling. But if it's not in your wheelhouse, we don't want to bleed on the people and further infect them to a deeper level because I'm opening up and I'm trusting you. So if you're a coach and you know you haven't did trauma and all that, that's a you better refer because you're about to further injure the people and they will close up like a clam and never seek counseling again.
Absolutely.
That was on my heart.
And to kind of piggyback off what you said earlier about individuals going back to bad habits and things of that nature, I think that's a part of the toolkit in a sense is to prepare for setbacks. What are you going to do if you get triggered, if you and have positive things in place at that particular time? You can't wait until you have the setback to try to figure out what's going on because you will go back to those old bad habits. But kind of treating your treatment plan, if you will, or that backpack, the things you have there, almost like a GPS. You put a destination in from your starting point, and it's going to tell you if you take this route, you're going to get there by this time. In counseling, it don't work that way. You've got to go through some steps to get there. We know what the destination is, but it may take some time. So you can't treat it like your GPS in your car when it says, oh, you're going to get to Dallas at 252, but I'm going to hit 95 miles an hour to see if I can get there at 240. Counseling ain't going to work like that. The way counseling is going to work is say, we're going to steer you in certain directions to try to get you to your goal. And sometimes things may happen where we may have to do a U-turn, come back and revisit some things, and then get back on track again. Another thing that we may have to do is to say, as Nikki was talking about earlier, what happens when you start seeing those taillights? Sometimes we got to slow counseling down to meet you where you are at. It's about meeting that individual where you're at, but that is about open communication, working with your counselor, and being open and honest so that we can help you in your destination or in your journey so that you can get to that destination at the desired time.
I like what you all are saying about that and slowing things down. And I thank you, Kenya, for hitting that the
setbacks.
The setbacks and actually working through therapy. And you said something about the self-soothing behaviors and things like that. When we're talking to therapists, like we're telling them how to put good things in their toolkit, right? But how do you rid yourself of the old habits, of those self-soothings? I know we can replace it with all these great things we said, but how do I really get rid of those things? Because it's not as easy as just taking and dumping my bag out, really, right? Because we talked about when you're holding on to something, sometimes people they slide down because they're afraid of letting go. And that's something I do an exercise with clients about holding their breath. And I don't give them a timeline. I don't tell them when they can start back breathing or anything like that, but I just time them. And when they finally take a breath, I say, you take a breath whenever you want to. When they finally take a breath, I said, well, how easy or how hard was that? Well, it was hard. Well, what made that hard? I don't know. I just felt like I needed to keep going. Who said you needed to keep going? Like you could have released. I didn't tell you to hold your breath for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. I just told you to hold your breath when you feel like you need to breathe. You could have did that at 2 seconds. But you chose to hold your breath for as long as you possibly could before you took a breath. What is that about? So people have a struggle with releasing. They struggle with release. As we know, people will take and hold something or pick up something and knowing it's hot. It's almost like the sensation, if you will, hasn't really reached the brain. And if there's blocks
and it get into the brain, you're going to hold on to that hot thing longer than what you need to, and then your hand going to blister. So how do I rid myself of the old self-soothing behaviors that are no longer suiting me?
For me, especially when I was speaking about the toxic bag, you have to be intentional. Mm-hmm. You have to, the old folks used to say that you have to have a want to. Yeah. You got to have a want to. And so, yes, you have to think about it. I would say sit in it. Don't make a rash, because as quick as you say, no, I'm going to no longer do this, as quick as you may bounce back. I would encourage and say that you have to be mindful, because that's what we were talking about when we came on. When I started working on my healing journey, at that time, I couldn't be around the individuals who were toxic to me. I still love you. I still care for you. I just couldn't do it. Why? Because recognize this. When you're in a vulnerable state, that's when you'll run back to the things that are toxic when it get too hard. So identifying what those things are is very important. Moving them out of the way and or agreeing to limit those things, whatever it may be. So if you're drinking a gallon of alcohol a week, maybe you can agree with your counselor not to drink a gallon, but maybe you'll drink a liter. Maybe I won't drink this, but I'll drink this on the weekend. So limit it down, not allowing it to be an easy reach. But the thing that's so challenging, and being really honest with that, nowadays, you don't even have to leave your house. Right. Mm-hmm. You can go on your phone. So those were some of the things that I had to set up. Remember, I was talking about accountability partners. Mm-hmm. So let's say, God forbid, that my issue was alcohol. Me saying, hey, this is what I agreed with my counselor to. I need you to help hold me accountable that I won't go reach for a bottle. That I won't go on, listen, I ain't never dealt with this, so it's hard for me to talk about it. So if I sound crazy, forgive me. Dating sites or hookup sites or whatever to try to have sex with someone, that I won't go and do as my accountability partner. A lot of people think I can do it on my own. Mm-hmm. But if we could, we wouldn't be where we are now, continuously struggling. So I think for me, in dumping out my toxic bag and not going back to those things, and or this is the biggest thing, the positive affirmations is very important, because you don't want to beat yourself up in your mind, because you will go down that rabbit hole, previous episode, and then you will find yourself back in a dark, depressive state, reaching for those negatives. So your mind. So as a man thinketh in his heart, I was gonna say heart, so is he. Mm-hmm. So as you thinketh in your heart, so is you. Mm-hmm. If you're choosing to press forward, you really need, as we mentioned today, to have those supports to tell them, because they won't judge you. Nikki, listen, I'm trying not to do this. I need your help. And don't get mad when they help you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do not get mad when they help you. So I think the supports and accountability partner is the biggest factor to set and plan, to say, me and my counselor said this. This is what I verbally agree. I need you to help me if I get weak and start to fall.
Yeah. I think another thing is just being, as a counselor, honest, and sometimes you have to confront your client. I had a client that came in. I was seeing this person on a regular basis. They just popped up out of the blue. Okay, what's going on? You didn't have an appointment. Why are you here? Oh, well, that thing we talked about, I went and did this, that, and other. Okay, well, we talked about that. We had a plan. What I had to do is really use like an analogy. And I asked this person, I said, okay, you're scared of fire and you just ran out of a burning building. Yeah, I need you to go back in there. She said, but why? That puts me at risk. I could die in the fire. So why are you running back to the problem that you were trying to run away from in the first place? And they just sat there in the chair like, wow, you had to put it like, that's what you're doing. We're trying to get you on a journey to where you can heal and feel better about yourself, your situation and all that. But you keep running back to the very thing that put you in a bad situation in the first place. So do you want to be healed or do you want to be sick? And I just let them sit there. It's not being mean, but sometimes clients will get to that point where they want to teeter, especially when they get halfway through the process. That's when I see it, halfway through the process, and they run back and say, well, that felt so much better. Okay, but you just came to see me in crisis. It's being upfront and honest and letting those individuals know you got to stay away from that. If you're going to do what we said we were going to do in your treatment plan, we need to be moving forward and not back. The other thing that I would say when it comes to some things that people need in their tool bag, yes, you need an accountability partner, but sometimes you got to be willing to run on your own. And this is the reason why I say that. Sometimes running on your own will help you correct the mistakes that you made before. If you guys remember, I hope I get this right. I want to say it may have been in the last Olympics. Allison Felix was on the 4x100 relay team. And I want to say she was second leg, if I'm not mistaken. When she got ready to hand off, she didn't get a good feel that her partner had the stick. So she tried to give it to her again. They dropped the baton. U.S. is now out of it, and they were the favorite to win it. They went back and they did a protest. Come to find out, the reason why that she couldn't get it there was because the person in the other lane dumped her. They had to run on their own. They had to meet a certain qualifying time in order to get to the finals. Now that they're running on their own, they feel as though we can't run as fast because we have nobody to run against. But you also don't have the distraction of somebody bumping you. Those setbacks that we talk about is about people bumping you that are interfering with your race. Sometimes you got to get out there on your own with your team, your counselor, your accountability partner, and any other resources. Run that race on your own so that you can qualify and get to the end where you're supposed to be at.
That's so good.
And they end up, of course, going to the finals, and then they end up getting the gold.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It is.
He mentioned a team.
It's a team.
The team.
It's a team.
Yeah, that's
You
all.
the dream team.
Come on, dream
That's
team.
what we are.
Look.
We're your dream
I'm thinking about her the
That's
breathing
it.
technique.
Yeah. I'm curious about that.
I definitely want us to do that. So I think that's a good way to end.
Yeah.
Is for us to do this mindfulness technique.
Mindfulness,
stuff.
yes.
Miss Larisha is about to walk you all through the greatest mindfulness technique that you're going to need in your toolkit.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is just one technique, right? But it's so easy for you to do. So simply what I want you to do in this moment is place your feet on the floor. Place your feet on the floor if you can. If you're driving, I want you to focus on your driving.
On the road.
Now what I want you to do is I want you to think of what your feet have gone through today. Think of what they've gone through today. Think of if there are any concerns, any aches or pains that you may have. Even think of what they look like. Do you have any thoughts on what they look like? Now in this moment, I just want you to take a breath. Take a breath in and let it out. Do your best not to hold it. Flow with the natural form of your breathing, the inhale, the exhale. Now what I want you to do is connect with any sensations that you feel in your feet. Are they pins and needles? Is there a numbness? Is there a throbbing pain? I want you to take one more breath. Inhale and exhale. I'm going to count backwards from 3. 3, 2, 1. All right. What we've just done is we've done a grounding exercise. But not only that, we did 2 things. And believe it or not, The first time that you connected with your feet, you probably had thoughts and judgments surrounding your feet. The next time we took just a brief look at maybe any of the sensations that you have in your feet. My point is, when you heal, there's the need to connect with the thought of a thing and to connect with the sensation
Wow, that's good.
of a thing, the emotion of a thing. And you can do that through your body. You can allow your body to be a healing vessel for you in this process. So it was a quick exercise, but if you were to go through that exercise and give a little more time, I'm almost positive you'll come up with some thoughts that may not be helpful or productive, and some sensations that may not be helpful or productive in your healing process. If that's the case, we encourage you to join Talk.Therapy.Heal. We also encourage you to seek counsel from a qualified therapist.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel relaxed.
Yeah.
in all of this. Thank you, Larisha.
Thank you.
That was good. Wow. I hope y'all are relaxed just as much as we are at this table. And we ask that you all do what we always ask. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you all again for joining us here at Talk Therapy Heal. Hi. Bye-bye.
Bye.